Hello again, welcome to my personal record store. Today, I'm doing something new, something different, to celebrate the holidays. I would normally do to read a compilation of stories from Reddit, Tales of Terror from Reddit, but these stories have also came from sites like Fandom and the Creepypasta website, and only like one Reddit story, so I'm changing the name of this episode from Tales of Terror from Reddit to Tales of Terror from Easter, because we're celebrating Easter. Yeah, behind the scenes, I got 2 Easter-related creepypastas. Those were the only 2 Easter creepypastas I could find, so who knows what's out there next year. And the other 2 creepypastas that I believe is close enough would be Chocolate and Chocoholic. Yeah, leave now before you end up with infinite obesity. Chocolate, written by Anonymous. I am a large man. I suffer from diabetes due to my unhealthy choices when I was younger. Last year, I fell into a diabetic coma. I was fortunate that my coma was only 3 weeks, but unfortunately I went into kidney failure and lost my left kidney, and even on dialysis, I lost my right finger, my pinky finger, and even 4 toes. I had great doctors that saved my life and a hospital I trusted. Once I came back and accepted what happened, I donated my lost parts for medical research at the Lavier Institute. Since then, I've been recovering slowly, taking care of my life, and getting back to safe health. The one problem that led to my disease was my obsession with chocolate. I paid for cocoa beans from Amazon to be sent to the finest Belgian chocolatiers on a monthly basis, but I completely gave it up for my health. Recently, though, after talking with my doctor, he condoned me to be able to have some chocolate again, but only a small amount, which was lucky for me. I already had picked out an exclusive restaurant that specialized in desserts. I was a guest on my friend's behalf. Together, we were welcomed to the Gothic-styled manor kitchen where you were served for an experience. We were with a group of 7, led in by a host taking us through the courses. The first course was crispy, bitter cocoa bacon with a dark glaze. I knew this was wrong for me to indulge in such risky treats, but it was the first time in years, so I allowed it. I asked the host what type of bacon they used, because it didn't taste like the pig variety. It's an aged jerky that had been soaked for a week in wine. It's not a common meat, but we have a fine supplier in the city. The next course was a chocolate gelatin-like flan, again glazed with that delicious bitter dark red sauce. Since these were such flavors I hadn't tasted before, I asked what they used. Gelatin in a fine powder made from the marrow and bone of bovine feet or bones. We choose the finest meat available that's tender and fat. Most of our meat ingredients are aged at least 1 year. Our final course came out, which was a seared, dark, and soft meat with a strong irony flavor, like a mix between foie gras and beef. The portion was surprisingly small, and cooked in the chocolate dark sauce again upon salted mushrooms. You'll have to tell me where you get this meal. It's so delicious, I'd love to know the recipes, I asked. Our technique is from ancient Mayan practices of serving meat with chocolate. The internal organs of the animal were delicacies taken fresh from the body, but we prefer to age and cure our meat. But soak the kidneys in brine. We get our supplies daily from the Lavier Corporation. Chocoholic, written by Mikey Knutson. I spent almost 4 months looking for Otto. He went missing shortly after the old factory began operating again. Allegedly, according to the reports, at least there was an incident during a tour of the factory he went on. He fell into a stream of highly viscous chocolate and was taken down to a separate part of the factory by the undertow. That was when my first bit of suspicion arose. It's a common misconception that a rip current can drag someone underwater and down a stream. It doesn't work that way. Otto was retrieved by some factory workers in a separate room from where the incident occurred. Besides being covered in liquid gold, he seemed to be in perfect health. His mother verified this, as did the medical center she took him to immediately after. Aside from being shaken up, Otto reportedly continued on with his life as normal, even eating chocolate on a daily basis as he did prior to the tour. My investigation wasn't into the incident, however. His mother squared that away with the CEO of the company not long after it happened. My involvement in the situation came after Otto went missing a month later. His mother phoned the police first, who didn't take her claim seriously. Her reasoning that something was wrong was based on the lack of chocolate bar wrappers in his bed. I'll admit, when she came pounding on my office door yelling, "Help! There's no wrappers! My boy!" I also had a hard time taking her seriously. Money is money, though, so I let her into my office. After an eternity of sobbing and giving unopened chocolate bars to me to examine, she was finally able to tell me all of the details of the incident and his behavior since the occurrence, leading me up to his disappearance. According to Otto's mother, he began acting strange about a week after returning home from the tour of the factory. His chocolate intake almost tripled, and Otto needed chocolate bars every hour of the day. He would wake up in the middle of the night, sweating and screaming that he needed a chocolate bar immediately. Why she didn't see this as strange, I never fully understood. He started skipping school roughly 1 week before he disappeared, but was always found behind the local candy shop, scavenging through the waste bins for discarded chocolate bits. Again, I'll never understand why she didn't take him to a doctor. Part of me feels that she would let him eat so she didn't have to deal with his tantrums. Opinions don't solve investigations, however. I took the job mostly out of curiosity, although I won't deny that the hefty reward she was offering for me was an easy case, swayed me a tad. While she might have been unable to accept it, at that time it was obvious to me that Otto had been attempting to return to a factory. The job was only a matter of finding him along the way. It didn't sound difficult. They lived one country over and shared a land border with the city the factory was in. For a child of 9, the task wasn't exactly an impossibility. It was a day trip by train, 2 or 3 by car, and probably not much more by hitchhiking. 1,800 pounds up front, 2,200 pounds upon retrieval, and all I had to do was track his scent like a hound. I should correct myself here before I get too far. I did not spend almost 4 months looking for Otto. I found him within 2 weeks' time. The remainder of that period was spent attempting to infiltrate the factory to find him and rescue him. According to my sources, Otto made it to the factory approximately 6 days after he left home. They never attempted to contact his mother. Until a few days ago, I was unable to confirm visuals. It was all conjecture. The factory is highly guarded. It's probably closer to a castle than an actual factory. The gargantuan iron gate that surrounds the entire premises, easily taller than 2 men, brown German shepherds that freely roam the grounds, guards that cover every 100 feet, standing still as if they were members of the Queen's Guard. It took me the brunt of the past few months surveying the grounds every day to formulate a plan of action. The place is a dang fortress. One might think it's the vacation home to royalty. Getting inside wasn't the most honorable of tasks, but it needed to be done. The guards never changed shifts. The dogs never went indoors. I hate to admit this, but I have to. I went through the septic tank. It was left unguarded underground, with about half of it exposed to the sewers. Yes, it was disgusting. I don't think the smell will ever cease to haunt me. There were no other options. I crawled through those pipes, almost getting stuck a few times along the way. Luckily, no flushes happened. I came through a large manhole in the floor under what appeared to be a series of tubes that chocolate was flowing through. The area was small, but just big enough for me to crawl through on my hands and knees. Had I been a little person, there's a chance that I could have walked, I guess. I crawled under the tubes for quite some time, until they rose up and a ledge leading down to a cold stone hallway appeared. I checked for guards, nothing. It was deserted, and I was in luck. After a minute of walking down that hallway, I came to a heavily beaten door that read, "Authorized personnel, workers only." Jackpot. At least I hoped it was. I jumbled with the lock in the handle and slowly cracked the door open. A smell overtook me, worse than the filthy waste water covering my body. It was flesh, rotting flesh, and chocolate. Not the pleasant chocolate smell I was used to. That was spoiled milk, with cocoa mixed into it. My entire body began convulsing as I gagged. I didn't want to go in. I pondered it as I heaved. Was the 4.000 pounds worth it? Yes, it was. I opened the door wide enough to squeeze my body through. It was dark, but not entirely blacked out. It was akin to a bedroom with a nightlight. I had to wrap my dirty shirt around my face to be able to stand the smell. There were spotless metal tables lining the walls of the room, along with shelves full of tools and empty cages. Along a huge empty wall was a table filled with computers and paperwork. I went there first to search for answers. Supply chain 4. Status low. Action required. Fill. Please press enter to initiate replenish sequence. Those were the only words on screen, with enter blinking in bold blue letters. I could toggle out of this screen, nor cancel the status inquiry, so I did what I had to do and initiate the replenishment. The wall behind the computers illuminated in a blinding fluorescent white light as the turning of gears and machinery overtook the room. The first thing I noticed was the crane moving down an overhead track carrying a net full of blue and green striped vertical fruits. They weren't anything I had seen before. As I followed the crane with my eyes, it led to an area that was sectioned off by fencing with barbed wire across its top. Bursting out of that fence was Otto, or something that resembled him. It was a lumpy blob of white skin, covered in purple stretch marks and deep red cracks. There was some sort of mouth on top of the flesh mound that was being kept in a gaping open position by some sort of forceps. As the crane lowered itself into position just over the creature's mouth, it grunted repeatedly in approval over the meat it was about to be given, like a baby bird when its mother returns with a worm. The fencing began shaking violently, and a bunch of little men ran into the area from panels in the walls, stabbing the blob with some sort of electrical rods. It stopped moving. The crane released the net, and dozens of those strange colored fruits fell into its mouth. The ones that fell were tossed up and into its mouth by some of the smaller men without electric rods. A machine wheeled into the area, and a tube emerged from the front of it. Facing the front of the fenced area, the men opened the side of the fence, and the machine extended and the tube straight into a fold on the blob's center. It let out a cry of pain as a brown sludge slooshed its way down the pipe of the machine. Otto, he loves chocolate so much. He was eager to take a job here. A voice pierced through the drone of machinery. I jumped and looked behind me. There was no one in the room. I ran for it. Back through the door, up the ledge, back through the manhole cover, and out to the sewers. I made it back to my hotel faster than any taxi could have gotten me there. I have no idea how to inform his mother of what happened to her son. I don't really know what to do myself, honestly. Every morning there's a delicious chocolate bar sitting on my pillow. They know what I've done. They know where I am. I know I shouldn't be eating the chocolate. I know it's a message. It's just so good. We're halfway through. This is where I get into the real stuff. The stuff that's actually relevant to Easter, obviously. Because why would I call this video Tales of Terror from Easter if there are no Easter videos? Or creepypastas, besides being released on Easter? Well, go ahead, listen to them. Candy, written by Anonymous. Mom, the little girl said, rubbing her eyes and standing in the doorway to her mother's room. Mom, the Easter Bunny is eating my candy, she said. Nonsense, baby, the woman replied. The Easter Bunny gives out candy. He doesn't eat it. The woman lightly shook her covers and continued to speak, halfway into her pillow and halfway to her daughter. Go back to sleep, baby. But Mom, the girl said, the Easter Bunny is eating candy. She spoke now in a more serious tone, almost as if she were going to cry. Her mother sat up and opened her arms. Baby, I just told you, the Easter Bunny doesn't eat candy. He hands it out to little children. Besides, it's not even Easter yet. Go back to sleep, she said in her kindest voice. Okay, Mom, the child sighed as she turned to walk out of the room. The woman smiled and thought, crazy kid with her lively imagination, and went back to sleep on a whim. In the hallway, the girl stood for a while staring at the Easter Bunny eating her candy. She then sighed. Mommy said I should go back to bed. The Easter Bunny smiled. Good idea, child. Turn around and don't look back. He flicked a shiny metal pendant in the air. She picked it up and cried as she saw it was a dog tag inscribed Candy. The Easter Bunny, written by Robin Lee Guy. I need to get this off my chest. Hello, my name is Bishop. I live in rural Kentucky with my parents, uncle, and 3 cousins, or what's left of them anyway. Before we get to that, however, I need to tell you what I can remember from my childhood. It was Easter morning. The rains dew over the meadow and fog over the woods. It was a fairly nice day until we heard the scream. It came from the woods, just beyond the shed on our property. We were eating breakfast, just going about our business, when my Uncle Jim crashed into a kitchen with a shotgun. He looked like he just saw a ghost. Terrence, you gotta look at this. He was puffy. Of course, being a 7-year-old boy, I decided to go along as well. First, my mother pleaded, but my dad insisted it would be fine. I wish I just stayed in the dang house. As we neared the source of the scream, all we heard was chewing, the cracking of bones, and the tearing of flesh. If you could hear it, it was hell. Just put in perspective, if you were to put a living mouse, no, a rat, into a meat grinder, it would make a noise not even close to what we heard. We saw a trail of blood coming from a cornfield go into the woods. My Uncle Jim readied his shotgun. My dad pulled out a knife and gave it to me, grabbing a sledgehammer from a box near the woods. but the sledgehammer already had blood on it. This made all of us flow with adrenaline. It was kill or be killed. As we walked into the woods, we saw the dang thing eating into a little girl's face. But it wasn't any little girl, it was my cousin. This infuriated my uncle, who was always nice and chill about 100% of the time. He was screaming words and cusses I dare not say. To this day, I still don't know what some of them mean. I don't even want to know. After what happened to my uncle, anyways, this thing was eating my cousin's face. My uncle shot around at it, but it bounced away on its legs. My cousin had an egg basket already. It was spilled over, and in the eggs, my God, in the eggs were tiny little dead chicks. Bits of red and yellow were everywhere. This drove my uncle mad. He threw himself into a train yesterday. Not even enough to bury. I'm 26 now, and it's my daughter's first Easter. Well, one she can celebrate. She was born with a birth defect that was also found in my DNA. But enough of that. She is a 4-year-old little girl, and her mother decided on throwing an Easter party. I agreed as long as they are careful around Alexa. I saw the dang bunny. This time I got a good look at it. It was 7 feet tall. It was pink and red and purple. It was a feral animal. I guess it was. But what scared me is that it wasn't a bunny. It was a person. Only the person was dead. Its face sewn into the suit. It was a suit. I wondered why my uncle wasn't going to have a funeral. Now I know. The bits and pieces, the suit, the train, it all makes sense. My uncle is the bunny. He's out to kill my daughter. The suit, I wonder how long it will be until I get sewn into one too.